What is up, everybody? Welcome to Mary and J08, and welcome to a long return of the Talking Tunes podcast. It's been a while, guys. It's been a while since my last episode of the Talking Tunes podcast, but I am back with a new season. We are back with a new season of the Talking Tunes podcast, and there's lots to talk about because I am super excited for 2021 as it is a new year and a new year for music. And, I have to say, looking back at 2020, as horrible of a year as it was great for gaming, but it was also great for music. There was some great music. There was some great albums. And you can see that when you watch my recent music pickups. And there's some great music coming out this year. And not only is there some great music coming out this year, there is some fantastic albums that were rumored to come out last year that got delayed and are coming out this year. So we got some awesome ones. And I picked out a handful of the ones that I want to talk about. Some of the most anticipated of the ones that I'm looking forward to, but there's tons more. We're going to have more episodes like this where I talk about upcoming albums. I'm going to be doing some more of the episodes like I did last year where I continue my greatest albums of all time. Greatest album covers, greatest singers. We're going to be doing all that again with the new season of Talking Tunes with Sean. Going to try to get some guests on here. So, in particular, I would like to start off with some great albums that I have been following for a very long time. And I believe that these albums have been in the works for a long time and that these artists have been working on them for a long time and waiting for the right moment to release them. Another thing to note is that with the pandemic and everything, that a lot of these artists really make the bulk of their money and commission from touring, and that's really not happening. A lot of them are doing virtual concerts online, and they're really relying on music downloads and album sales, and merchandise, everything other than touring. It's not completely, gone, but it's really scaled down, and especially with the capacity of the crowds and the ticket sales and people really weary of going out. Hopefully it gets better this year, and hopefully, the concerts get back into gear. I know they got some great shows lined up for later this year and some great tours were planned. We're going to get into some albums, and these are albums that I've been waiting for last year to come out. And they're coming out this year. We've heard tracks from these albums. And then I want to talk about another little segment. And I was going to make a separate video, but I'm going to talk about it in this show, in this episode, of something that's happening with old Taylor, my good friend Taylor Swift, that I'm trying desperately to get on the show here. Yeah. Good luck with that, Sean. No, but on a serious note, I would love to talk about what's happening on the news in the media and all with her. It has to do with new albums. So we're going to stick that in here. So I'm going to get right on here, and we're going to jump to Evanescence. Their new album. Now, listen, these guys have been in hiatus for the longest time. And their new album is The Bitter Truth, okay? And Yeah Right is their new song that's been floating around. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely sounds like a punch in the face, heavy hitting, awesome album. More like a Lacuna Coil kind of sound, which I'm loving. Always was a big fan of Evanescence. Never thought they could do any wrong. and they are coming out with their new album, The Bitter Truth, on March 26th. So what's nice about a lot of the albums that I'm going to be talking about, they're all within the next few months, within the spring, because we don't know too much beyond then, but we do know that a lot more albums from these artists are coming. There's a lot of rumors as well, but we're going to stick to what we know. So Evanescence, The Bitter Truth. I don't know if you guys heard the tracks that have been floating around, but here's the album cover. Fans can pre-order a digital version, CD, vinyl, and the limited edition deluxe fan box set featuring a bonus CD, journal, poster, and special cassette of exclusive audio from the making of The Bitter Truth. That's awesome. So some really nice packaging. And there we go. We have a glimpse of it there. Really cool. Great band, great group. Seen them in concert. And Amy Lee is a phenomenal singer. She always was one of my favorite. And they always put out quality stuff. And I remember when their first album came out, it just was mind-blowing. It really was. It was top of the charts for the longest time. And it's still some of the greatest hits ever in the rock category. So there you go. Evanescence. Looking forward to it. Rob Zombie, The Lunar Injection Kool-Aid Eclipse Conspiracy. Well, we've been hearing that King Freak song. King Freak. King Freak. What an awesome song, man. What a heavy song. You know, when I first heard this song last year, when he first announced his album to come out in March, right? March is going to be a freaking busy month for music. It's going to be got a lot of video games and movies and stuff coming out in March, but big time for music. I thought this was heavy old school Rob Zombie, actually kind of a White Zombie vibe, Hellbilly Deluxe, Astro Creep. I mean, good shit here. Look at the album cover, right? March 12th. I can't wait for this fucking CD to come out. Listen to me. From what I've heard, right? That second single just came out. Let me see here. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, this is just gonna be a wild album. Look at their discography: White Zombie and Rob Zombie. Yeah, great stuff, man. Great stuff coming from this album. I'm loving everything I'm hearing. Some great merchandise here. Wow, they're really releasing the cassettes, all these bands. Oh, that's awesome. Here's another box set. See that? That's pretty cool. I'm loving these cassettes. Yeah, and it was something Wolf, wasn't it? Hold on. I know King Freak was the one. Oh, yeah. The Eternal Struggles of the Howling Man. That's it. And then The Triumph of King Freak. Yep. Awesome. What an awesome song, right? The whole album's going to be sick. The whole album is going to be sick. Crazy website. Look at the album artwork. Look at that, the cover. Imagine that on vinyl. It's awesome. Yeah, March 12th, right? I said? Yeah. Yep. Okay. So we got, hey, listen. We got two big ones. We got a lot of the big ones in March, right? Now, I'm going to get right. Oh, I saw Rob Zombie a shitload of times. Great. Met him in person. Awesome. Good to go. Can't wait to see Rob. I saw Rob Zombie. Let me cut back to my face cam here. I saw Rob Zombie during Christmas time years ago. It was called Merry Mayhem, opening up for Ozzy. It wasn't Ozfest. It was Ozzy. I saw Ozzy from Ozfest with and without Black Sabbath, probably 30 times. But this was an Ozzy solo, Ozzy, a regular concert aside from Ozfest. And Rob Zombie was the opening act. I want to say maybe Mudvayne too. Did Mudvayne open up for Rob Zombie? Yeah. Mudvayne, Rob Zombie, and then Ozzy. But anyway, it was, I think so. I saw Mudvayne a shitload of times. Chad Gray, I met all them. It was Merry Mayhem tour. It was Christmas themed. Fucking Ozzy came out on a sleigh. Fucking reindeer. It was fucking snowing. It was the sickest thing I've ever seen. It was so awesome. I remember it was like right around the corner, right before Christmas. We were actually on the fucking ice rink. They had to fucking change the floor. We were actually on the ice. And we were indoors. It was awesome. And long story short, Amy Roloff from Little People, Big Mess, or Little People, Big World, Matt Roloff's ex-nasty wife, she was a fucking dwarf. This was way before the show, way before she was popular, known, way before she was famous. She was like a helper for Ozzy. She was like road tour. And she would travel with him and dress up as like an elf. Actually, if you watch some of the early episodes of The Osbournes, you'll see her backstage with Zakk Wylde. But, great show. Rob Zombie kicked ass. I just wanted to share that. I thought that was a cool moment. I might have talked about it on here before during my concert segment. And then, here we go. One of my top anticipated of the year. I talked about this album all year last year and actually go on every month to find out more info on this album. Since January of last year, I've been following this album, and it's finally going to see the light of day. Chevelle. Chevelle's new fucking album. And their fucking Neuradius and their fucking single Self-Destructor. But, okay, that's awesome, right? Now, Chevelle, to me, I have a long relationship, long memory of Chevelle, okay? I'll get into that in a minute, but I've been following this album for a long time. Now, what's awesome about this album is that this album was supposed to come out in 2020. It was delayed a few times. I know they had, the whole with the virus and everything. I know Pete was saying that he had some trouble in the studio. He had to delay it. They had some writing problems, the band, whatever, with the bass player. They got back together. They started recording again. They started rewriting. They got the writing process back together. The album is done. It's like gone golden. They have a, what is it? Is it April or March release date? Yeah. The single is out. Self-Destructor. It's insane. It's heavy as hell. It's just wild. It's wild. This is a band that I've always said can do no wrong. This is one of those bands that no matter what they do, as they get older, they put out quality material. There is a song, because if you go on YouTube, you could always find leaked songs, but actually if you go on their official YouTube page, they have a lot of songs that are leaking out from the album that are officially putting out audio versions only. Or they call them visualizers. There's one for Self-Destructor, but there's one for a song called Peach. Oh my God. It's like got a Tool kind of vibe, like an industrial kind of heavy vibe, which old Chevelle had. That's how I remember it. Old Chevelle sounding like Wonder What's Next, like the early days of Chevelle. I actually was listening to Chevelle on their early material before they were even known, like before they were even signed. When they used to have the clay animated videos on MTV, I'll never forget. I was watching 1999's Return of the Rock. Lars Ulrich from Metallica was hosting it. And Chevelle was featured on there. And Lars is like, oh, you got to keep an eye out on these guys. I used to follow Chevelle. I used to go on tour and go out to their concerts. I went to the Chance in Poughkeepsie, New York, which is like a little tiny nightclub. I saw Chevelle back in the day open up for Stone Sour, Corey Taylor. I think I told this story. And Pete, I had front row. I was actually grabbing the stage, grabbing his foot. Pete actually gave me his guitar like this. And I grabbed his guitar and then he pulled it away. It was the coolest thing in the world. But Chevelle is awesome on stage. That's another thing, too. They sound great live. It's like you're listening to the CD. It's like the CD spinning when they're on stage. But this CD, literally, I was waiting for this to come out last year, and I was so bummed. So this album's coming out this year. And you got to go online, you got to go on YouTube, and you got to go on their site and check out the songs that are floating around. They got a video for Self-Destructor, but then you could go listen to that song Peach. I don't know if they have a I don't know if they have a track listing for the new album. But anyway, just a great group, just a great band. And like I said, Chevelle could do no wrong, and they're just a wonderful group of people. They put out quality music, and I've been waiting for this album for a long time. And like I said, last year, I know I read it, they had a lot of setbacks with everything going on. Mark Chevelle's follow-up to 2016, so that's been a while, The North Corridor. Between full-length albums, the band's unleashed a rarities compilation. Remember that? 12 Bloody Spies back in 2018. Along with the release of Nereatius, I think is how you pronounce it, Chevelle is offering an assortment of items and special merchandise, including limited edition and autographed items. View the full catalog here. Yeah, see? Catchy post-grunge tracks such as Joyride and Face to the Floor and Hats Off to the Bull. The North Corridor, their last album, is actually one of my most favorite Chevelle albums. Their last album is catchy and heavy as hell. I said to myself, if they can make another album like The North Corridor, and it sounds like this album is leading in that direction, excellent. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. And last but not least, I want to talk about Taylor Swift here. So as you know, I've talked about this before. She talked about that whole owning her own masters, and the only way around it was she said that she, instead of buying that, what it was going to cost and everything, and the hassle of going and buying her own masters, she was going to go. I guess Katy Perry went and did the same thing, but I read more and more now. It's happening to so many artists now that, because when they were young and the stuff that they signed and what they did to get going in the beginning, they are now going back to the studio and re-recording their classic tracks and re-releasing them so that they owned them. Taylor Swift is doing that with all her original albums, her first original released albums before she was on her other labels, before she started owning her own music, like with Lover, Folklore, Evermore. So the first one that's going to be released is Fearless, in parentheses, Taylor's version. You can actually hear Love Story on her site. And the pre-order is already up, and that's coming out in April. It has 26 songs, including 6 never-before-released songs from the vault. Love Story, Taylor's version, will be out tonight. This was posted the other day. Pre-order now at Taylor's Fearless. And I believe this is April, right? Yeah, it's April. You could get it on Amazon. I saw the pre-order went up. The pre-order listing went up. I'll tell you what, I'm not using her site again. It was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster for Evermore and Folklore, and it took me forever to get it. When people, which first they were like, "Oh, you can only order it from us on our official merchandise website. You can't get it anywhere else." The next day, people were walking out of Target with it. I have a friend. She's an absolute mega diehard. The girl's still waiting for the CD to come in the mail. I'm like, dude, cancel it. You're not getting anything extra. It's not like it's signed or anything. Cancel it and just get it at Target. I think Amazon sells it now. So you can pre-order this at Amazon. And she's going to be doing it to all her first albums. She's, to get around the whole debacle of her master tracks, she is re-recording them. They do sound a little different. You could tell, with her voice, but you know what? They sound fantastic. They sound great. They sound great. You could hear a lot of different instruments in the backgrounds, especially if you know the songs in and out, and you could tell the differences. You could definitely spot it. But it sounds excellent from what I heard. It sounds like I'm really interested to hear the other songs and how the re-recorded releases come out. It's a pretty interesting concept. It's a pretty interesting thing to do. But I'll tell you what, she's been busy. She's been really busy. And she's pumping out material, man. She's living in the studio, Figure with everything in the pandemic, she does everything in her home. I don't know if you ever saw the Exile video, how they did that back and forth. They never even met each other. So, pretty interesting. So, that is the new episode of Talking Tunes with Sean. There's lots more coming. There's lots more episodes coming. This is the new season that I started, getting this podcast back up and running. There's a lot of music to talk about. I know there's a lot more albums coming out. Those were the ones that I wanted to talk about. And I am super excited for those album releases to come out. The nice thing is that we don't have that much longer to wait for all those albums to come out that I mentioned today on the show. Chime in below. Chime in on the comments if you're looking forward to those albums, if you're a fan of those bands. And also, what albums are you looking forward to coming out this year? And what albums would you like to be announced for this year from artists that you listen to? Be safe, everyone. Take care, and I hope to see you on the next episode and the next show.